We are here with Julie Haddon, the Chief Marketing Officer and the Chief Commercial Officer of the National Women's Soccer League. Julie, thank you so much for joining.
It's great to be here. Happy to see you.
So, we're in the first year of a new media rights deal for the NWSL. That moved the league from one media partner to four. So, what was the negotiating process like, and how have the results been so far?
We've been lucky in that CBS has been a partner with us for several years. So CBS came back. We also welcomed Amazon Prime, Scripps Ion, and ESPN, which also came with some ABC games. So it's been a great thrill to have four media partners from having one. And then we also launched our first ever direct to consumer service called NWSL Plus. So I would say the negotiating landed us in a really great groundbreaking rights deal for women's sports. And what's great about this for our fans is that we've got four places for them to watch from Friday to Sunday, the whole journey of a weekend. And it starts with Friday night with Amazon Prime.
Julie, I'm paying attention to viewership across properties on a day in and day out basis. I think the NWSL this season across all of their partners, we're talking ABC, ESPN, ESPN2, Ion, CBS, somewhere in the vicinity of 175, between there and 200,000 viewers. But like the tonnage of games really were those week in and week out double headers, Saturday night on Ion. What were some of the priorities in getting with Scripps and Ion for that package?
Well, first of all, I really committed to owning that Saturday night soccer window. So as we thought about one of our challenges was going from one broadcast partner to four, building that habit. The Friday night soccer weekend starts with Prime Video with Amazon. Moving into Saturday, we had some windows with ABC and ESPN and CBS in the day, but always consistently Saturday night has been Scripps Ion. In fact, the highest game of the year was the Wrigley game, which was the Bay FC playing against the Chicago Red Stars. And that had 35,000 or so, broke the record for attendance ever in our league, was a Wrigley Field game in Chicago. And that was on Scripps Ion. So they've been a lot of fun to work with. They've been great partners. They do a lot of marketing. They have a tremendous lead-in show. They've done a lot with talent and innovation. And we've enjoyed this ride a lot.
Julie, you brought up NWSL Plus. That's that free direct-to-consumer product. It's first year of its existence. How much of a role does D2C play in the media strategy, and what can we expect in the next few seasons with it?
Well, I think what's great about NWSL Plus is that the numbers are holding strong. In fact, there are many games where they've even beaten some of the prior season of Paramount Plus. So they're holding strong to that. What's most important for us with the D2C property, obviously, because some of the games were, whether they were remnant and not part of the packages through ABC, CBS, ESPN, and Scripps Ion, it also gives us the chance to get a lot of data. So we're getting a fair amount of viewership habits and behavior. We're seeing how long people stay. We're seeing repeat customers or viewers, if you will, that are here. That's a treasure trove for us because, as you know, working with third party, some of the partners, we're not able to get all the data on the viewership. So we're able to see a lot of things that help us inform the future of what we could be doing over the next media rights deal in the next 3 to 4 years.
Playoffs kicked off this weekend, newly expanded format. Bay FC qualified for its first year every year as a club. And I know you live in the Bay Area. So the NWSL is expanding far more rapidly than some of the other women's sports leagues. How has expansion benefited the league, and where's the ceiling?
Well, I can't talk too much about expansion because we'll announce news when we have news, but I can tell you that we've had a lot of interest. And, the last team we announced was Boston, and we're looking for Team 16. So I would say the sky's the limit because there's so much demand. The challenge becomes time and when we can fulfill opportunities. Right now, we're looking for Team 16. We hope to be announcing that very soon. And I think what's important is that we're able to show that the right kind of owners are showing up. We've got a lot of exciting partners that are potential ownership groups across the different markets we're talking to. And all of them have exceptional experience, be it business, be it other sport, be it entertainment. But it's just exciting to be here right now and see the level that's coming on board and the interest.
Well, Julie, without breaking any news here, I realize you can't, give names for this 16th team. But like, how important is the media market size for this potential final city? Like you're adding Boston, but you have a lot of smaller markets out there, whether it be Louisville or some other places. But some of the places that our colleague Alex Silverman has reported, Cleveland, Nashville, Denver, Philly, these are some major media markets. Like how much of a factor is that, in deciding who can potentially be next?
Well, I think a lot of it is, again, I can't comment on what markets have been said or not out there because there's a lot of speculation. But what's important is that it's got to be a tremendously committed ownership group and people that want to invest in the game and invest in the league and invest in facilities and invest in the team. The second part is, the importance of business and media, as you captured. And I just think that that's also looking at the overall fan footprint around where there's existing clubs and I would say fan demand. So what's great is we've had a lot of people that have come from different backgrounds, but all of these have a very similar connectivity in the thread as we think about the priority and the focus, and that they share the same type of values. So all of the folks in play right now are super high indexed on those kind of rubrics, if you will, that I just said.
We will be keeping a close eye on that. But you have a relatively new role with promotion to add Chief Commercial Officer. How have you seen the league grow in the 2 years since you joined?
Well, I mean, I think what's really exciting is when I first started, my remit and challenge was to build the brand of the NWSL. I worked at the NFL for 5 years, and I did not know there was an NWSL once upon a time. I mean, I watched the World Cup, but did not know that the players from the World Cup made their home inside this league. So the first order of business was getting this league out there so people know about it and showcasing the growth, showcasing the talent, building out a team at the NWSL. And now there's a group of an exceptional marketing department that is fully focused on telling the story and the records and the stats and the happenings that are happening around the league with our clubs and our partners and our players and so on. And so I think that's part one, was we accomplished that. And then part two was, as the league became more relevant in popular culture and became more of a brand that people knew about, that the best players in the world play here inside the NWSL, we've seen a lot of interest from corporate partners and sponsors that want to be part of the NWSL ecosystem. So I think the biggest thing that's changed is getting a lot of inbound demand and a lot of inbound interest from partners. And Friday, I got a call from a big retailer that wanted to speak. And then by this morning, we were already talking to them. And by the end of this week, we're talking about getting a proposal out. I mean, these are the kind of partner, I would say the momentum has really changed. And I think a lot of this is just fueled by our growth, but also the broader narrative about what's happening in women's sports overall, that, this is not seen as a CSR play or some version of corporate social responsibility. This is an investment with high growth. I mean, you think about the fact that, a team could trade at, the most recent one with the Angel City Club was 125x multiplier or something like that. I mean, this is a high growth business. And one of our owners, who's in the finance industry, who does a lot of work with loans and structures around finance and hedge fund people that are part of this league, they're investors, private equity. They're seeing that the growth is there in a way that's different than any other an asset that's just as valuable as any other asset that they have.
I mean, you can even think about the trajectory of individual clubs. Like Sky Blue FC is now Gotham FC, bringing a championship to New York for the first time.
I love that name. I do love that name.
Oh, that rebrand was one of my favorite things I followed. What is the biggest sports media story you're following right now? What are you paying the most attention to?
I don't have a lot of focus to think about other thing than the championship right now, Molly. I'll just tell you, I've been following all of the growth of women's sports. It's hard not to. It's just, I'm so immersed in it. And I think it's just fascinating to watch how, maybe a year or two ago when I started, there was so much happening around ancillary things that involved, different types of businesses, whether it was data or whether it was crypto or whether it was stats. This era is us. It's women's sports. And so I've been following a lot of what's happening, rights deals, looking at sponsor deals, looking at hiring, looking at growth, looking at how many people have invested in this, both from a standpoint of ownership or the interest in ownership. And I think that, every day last week was fun. I was reading about the new professional women's baseball league, and I've been following what's happening with Unrivaled, and that's exciting. I mean, a lot of the volleyball League One, I mean, there's so much happening around the continent and the globe, and watching what's happening in women's sports overseas. I just think it's exciting because the momentum is actually turning into action, and it's turning into what I see a lot would happen in tech when I worked in tech in the early days of the internet and mobile and the explosion of what became social as a new format of communications and commerce. So I feel like a lot of the same momentum and energy feels like it's happening now at women's sports at this time.
Well, that championship in Kansas City is going to be something special. Well, Julie Haddon, CCO and CMO of the NWSL, thank you so much for being here.
Can't wait to see you hopefully at the game. We'll have our championship on the 23rd of November, Saturday night primetime on CBS. The game kicks off at 8 p.m. and 8 p.m. ET, and it's at CP Casey Stadium, which is the first purpose-built stadium in the world for women's sports. And we don't know who's going to be in it, but there's a couple showdowns this weekend that'll be the decider, and I hope we see you there.